Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 258. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed and talented comic creator, illustrator, and designer, Scott Serkland.
Hey, Barney. Well, that's high praise. I don't know if I've been called internationally acclaimed, but
it's true.
Right? I like it. I like it. Probably, yeah, maybe.
You were on a few years ago. I think you're back on back in 2020. So it's been a while since we're able to touch base with you. And you set up also just recently. You actually had a couple YouTube videos that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
right?
Well, actually, I actually put up what is, at least for the time being, was my last YouTube video, because I'm just kind of going to step away because I'm basically going to retool everything that I'm doing and kind of come back. Basically, what I was doing was art and advice and inspiration for artists and a lot of comic book content and everything. And I've been doing that for 8 years. And in those 8 years, it's like, and the reason why it was kind of, I wanted to give back because when I was coming up as an artist, there was no YouTube, so you couldn't find all this information, and people were other artists out there, professionals, were really hesitant to share, their quote unquote trade secrets and things like that. So I just wanted to put it all out there. And then I kind of got to the point after 8 years of doing videos once a week without fail for 8 years straight. At least once a week. Some weeks, I mean, there were times where I did challenges where I would do every single day, for 100 days straight and stuff. So there was over 1,000 videos up on my YouTube, and I just kind of got to the point where it's like, I don't know what else I have to say other than, every once in a while there's a current event, like now the whole with AI art and stuff. So there's things that come up and I can talk about, but for the most part, I mean, there's over 1,000 videos up there of me, talking about pretty much all the stuff I know. And I just got to the point where it's like, it seems like it was getting a little repetitive. And so, and I just kind of, like I said, I was doing this because I wanted to give back, but I felt like I kind of gave back, and what else is there for me to do? So, so I decided I'm going to step away, but I will be back, and I've got big plans. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to try to actually do something I hadn't done in those 8 years and try to actually make this like an actual business on YouTube. Watching a lot of successful YouTubers and what they do. And a lot of it comes down to, I mean, what this podcast is all about, storytelling. So building a story around what you're doing, because and I've done the stuff that I'm going to do, I've done in the past. So it's still, I think it's still going to appeal to my core audience, but it's also going to appeal to people who aren't necessarily artists, who are just fans of basically, I'll share some of this. I don't want to share too much, but fans of like nostalgia and things like that. And basically the direction I'm going to go in is I'm going to be kind of recreating nostalgic items, things we loved in the past, the things that you would order from the back of comic books and things like that, but kind of put my own spin on it. So, the X-ray glasses, the sea monkeys, all that stuff. How do they make this stuff? Can we recreate it? Yeah. So these retroventions, there's a set of prints I did, where I would just combine like weird, like inventions that could never be, like combining a Viewmaster and a Polaroid camera, or an Atari 2600 and a Game Boy, or like a 45 RPM and a Walkman, so it's not going to be necessarily building that, although it could be, that would be a little, we'll see what happens with the channel, where it goes. Cause I've got a lot of ideas. I've got like a laundry list of things that I want to approach, and like, how can we recreate this stuff? So I think because it is all that stuff, that comics and things like that. And I do think it's going to appeal to the people that I've already followed me. But like I said, even if you're not necessarily an artist, I think it's going to also appeal to a whole new crowd. And hopefully, because it is story based, because it's going to be it's a lot better edited. It's just not me turning on the camera and kind of giving advice. There's a story to it. It's designed to kind of keep people engaged and everything. So we'll see what happens. But it's like, right. I love, as a kid, I used to make videos. We were talking off air where I would do a little radio program where I taped the little button. We had an intercom in our house growing up, and I taped that down, and I do a radio show. But I also made videos. Like, I was a big fan of SNL and stuff, so I would always be there doing stuff with the camera and making little skits and things. And this allows me to do all of that stuff that I love to do. And I mean, YouTube's just the perfect vehicle to do that. And I love all that old nostalgic stuff. So to get a chance to kind of like, oh, how am I going to recreate this and everything? And some of it, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I just start and like, it's kind of a journey. Like, can I do this? Is it possible to recreate like, a wax pack of trading cards or something like that? How do I do that? Right. Things like that. So, I mean, it's bringing back all the things that I love to do. And the thing that I like about it is, cause I'm getting up there. I'm what, 52, I think. So, but sometimes I have to like, really, am I that old? But anyway, but it's because I get to have fun, and because I'm kind of got a Peter Pan complex. I want to be a kid forever. So that's why I like toys and all that kind of stuff. And this gives me a chance to do that and kind of have no shame around it, because it's still going to appeal to people of my generation, because it's basically taking things from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and like remaking it, but putting my own unique, twist on it and everything. Right. So I'm super excited about it. So, but that's I kind of let most of the cat out of the bag. I think I told my patrons I'd let them know first, but I think maybe I'll just point anyone on my Patreon over to the podcast so they can get a little glimpse, and then maybe I'll fill them in a little more as I go. But yeah, I've been kind of waiting to talk about it, so this is kind of the perfect opportunity.
Would this be something along the lines as Scott Serkland, the character, or Scott Serkland, like, this has been a character, but now you're going to be your genuine self in this next translation?
It's a little bit more. It's a little bit of both. Like, I've kind of been, the green lab coat has always kind of been a staple. I've had that green lab coat, which was kind of an inspiration from Beekman, from Beekman's World.
Paul Zaloom, yeah.
Paul Zaloom, right. And also Mystery Science Theater is another big influence, and they had the green lab coats on there, Dr. Forrester. But so I kind of borrow from those two things and kind of create this look. But it was, I always had the lab coat on, and I kind of felt like I didn't want to break that character. This will be a little different. The lab coat will sort of make an appearance, but there'll also be segments where I don't have the lab coat on, and it'll all make sense once you see the videos, why I would be wearing it in certain situations and not others. But that way I can kind of go out and do other things, outside, because I always kept everything in the. Basically, I've got this underground lair, which doesn't exist anymore, the one I had, but I'm building the underground lair 2.0. So I'll be revealing that on my Patreon and everything. And I've got a whole new setup and everything. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, but it'll still have that kind of mad science vibe. It'll still be the art lab, so Serkworks Art Lab, that's not changing. There'll be I might play around with the logo and stuff. And I've got some different taglines that are a little more, have a little more to do with the direction I'm going in, and the website will change a little bit. But even if you look at that, you see all those things from, the back of comic books and stuff. So that's gonna be a big theme. Like, oh, let's look in the back of this comic book. What is this? It's a submarine that you build out of cardboard. Like, can we build this thing? That type of thing. So
you have like over 23,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. Is this going to expand out on this, or are you hope getting a different level of subscribers?
I think so. There may be people, that jump off and they're not as into it, because it's not going to be, there still will be, I mean, I'm showing how to do this stuff, and some of the things I will be doing have to do with comics and stuff. So I'm still going to be giving advice and stuff. It's just going to be, that's not the only thing. And that's not, when I set out to do my channel, even before, I was doing all kinds of stuff, but in the later years, I kind of just dove more into just comics in particular. But it's going to be, in some ways, it's going to be broader, because I'm going to be doing different projects, but it's going to be even more niche down. Like, it's just going to be me kind of recreating nostalgic items and with my own take and stuff like that. So
right. And so what are some of, like, is this, as you say, is there going to be more of a script of, like, so you're going to be able to take on a completely different level of production?
Yeah, the production value is going to be like 10 times what it was. Yeah. I mean, the space I'm in is bigger. There'll be different like cuts and scenes. I mean, there's these before a video would take me, I'd probably come up with an outline, just a basic outline of what I was going to talk about, like bullet points and things like that. And then I turned on the camera and I talk. And some of my videos had a little more, like when I did my Making Comics 101 series, that one was a little more, there's a lot more B-roll and cuts and things in that. But for the most part, I would, write an outline, get in front of the camera, talk, and then I'd edit it. And I could do that in like a day or less than a day. This takes me right now, it takes me almost about a week to do a single video. And it will go faster because I'm also learning the editing software and stuff like that. And the more I do it, the faster I get, as I kind of get in the groove, but it takes a while longer to do these. So I'll have these super highly edited, very high production value videos. So they won't be coming out as frequent, like once a week, but what I'll probably do is I'll do one of the edited videos. And then on the off week, I'll probably do a live stream where I can answer questions or go in depth a little more of how I created something like that or anything that has to do with the previous week or the next week's video in between. So I'll still be doing probably weekly videos. Some of them will be highly edited. Some will be like a live stream and stuff. So I really want to take advantage of everything kind of YouTube has, whether it's the shorts, whether it's the live streams, whether it's the kind of the community post and get people engaged and things like that. So I've just been doing a ton of research into like successful YouTube creators and kind of how they do everything and looking not necessarily in my, and the other thing that's cool about, I think what I'm doing is I've seen other maker channels out there, but I haven't seen anyone doing, and there's a lot of other channels out there that, that collect nostalgic toys and things, but I haven't seen anyone doing what I'm planning on doing. So that was kind of the sweet spot where it's like, okay, no one's doing this. I think there's a market for this. It's something I really know I'm going to have fun doing, and I'm already have fun doing it because I'm working on the videos already. I'm trying to create some of these. So because since they take a little longer, I want to have a few of them ready to go when I decide to come back and kind of relaunch the channel and everything.
Right. So is this going to involve like more people working with you on this as well?
Well, that kind of remains to be seen. If it becomes successful if it's profitable, then maybe I can hire like an editor or something or whatever people to help. But that, I can do it on my own, but, hopefully, the goal is to actually, make this, and maybe make it a full-time job. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so you do bring up a good point though. I'm really curious is like, since you've been doing this for so many years on YouTube, has YouTube changed? Have you changed or has the audience changed?
Well, YouTube has definitely changed. YouTube is constantly changing. I mean, I've done a lot since I've been doing it for 8 years. There's been a lot of different content. Like I would do vlogs. Vlogs they don't perform the way they used to for most people. I mean, there are some people that if you've got to already have a following, maybe you can keep a blog going, but it's really hard for people to jump into that space right now. It's really about storytelling. I mean, and there's exceptions to every rule. There's YouTube, creators and stuff that do different, other things that do well that don't follow that kind of formula. But as far as getting a story, hooking people in, getting them engaged, creating videos that have a little more highly edited where people aren't going to get bored and bounce. Because I mean, that was kind of the problem with my stuff before. I would always get kind of criticized for rambling on. And now there's a very tight, it's a very tight script. I know exactly different scenes and, whether I create little animations or all that special effects, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it will get people engaged and they're not going to jump off the video, that they'll just continue watching. And once I get enough of them up there, the goal is that they'll just, I want to see more of this guy's videos. And then, and hopefully that will help kind of continue to build an audience and everything, and get more views and everything. So.
Right. And like, so did you mention too, is that you're trying to highlight this sense of nostalgia of the back of the comic book situations of like, how do you take something that is so instrumental in a pop culture history sense and making it accessible to younger generations in that sense as well?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really gearing towards a younger audience. It's perfectly family friendly. So if a younger audience wants to watch it, and you have a daughter, if she wants to watch it, it'll be perfectly family friendly. And I think younger audience will definitely be more interested in this than they have been. These YouTube creators will tell you is you kind of, what you want to do is you want to create an avatar, like a representative of who your core audience is. You can even give that person a name and everything, and what are their hobbies, what do they do. And so my avatar is probably like a 40-year-old guy. And that doesn't mean that a 20-year-old girl won't like the stuff, but you got to know who your core audience is, and you aim towards that person. And that's kind of, that's what I'm aiming for. And if younger kids, like right now, like I think I did a video once and I had a t-shirt on it that was kind of a pinup girl. And one of the people in my comment section kind of thought that was a little risque for my channel, because it's kind of looks like it's kind of for kids. And I was like, so I kind of got criticized. And I said, I could look at my analytics and it says like under 18 amount of people like subscribed, 0. It doesn't even show up. Now that doesn't mean there might be 1 or 2, but as far as out of those 20,000, it's 0. So I don't have a huge under 18 audience at all. Now maybe maybe people will find it interesting, but it's not really. I'm not necessarily gearing it towards them, but it will all be family friendly. There won't be any cursing or anything like that. Or so anyone will be able to watch it, whether they're interested in that. They may be, I could see families getting into it. Like an adult would probably have to introduce their kid to it. I don't know that a kid would find it on their own. They maybe if they're, I don't know. There are kids out there that I'm sure they're like, there's all, that are into like old stuff or whatever, or some of this stuff that was started out in the 70s or 80s or 90s is now big again. So who knows,
Well, to be honest too, is like what you're planning on doing seems to be a really good pivot to the established character you've already created for yourself on your YouTube page as well.
Yeah, to me, it just all makes sense. And, but this way it makes sense, again, because, I'm not trying, it's not like a kid's show, like a Beekman's World is geared towards kids. And even though that was an inspiration for me, you can clearly see, because the kind of stuff that the topics and things and the projects I'm going to be creating are from when I was a kid. So it makes sense. It's a way for me to be silly and goofy and wear a green lab coat, but still be an adult, because that's who the audience is, And the audience remembers fun stuff like that from when they're a kid, and I think that they'll be into that. So yeah.
Well, it's what they say is that people won't remember what you said; they'll remember how you made them feel. Yeah. I am really excited to hear about how this is going to be moving forward, Scott.
Yeah, me too. So I'm glad to hear you're excited, because I mean you've kind of followed me with some of the other content, and you seem like you're open to me kind of pivoting and making a little bit of a change. So hopefully, I think the majority of the other people will. There will be some people that just like that. This isn't what I signed up for, and that's fine. There's plenty of other, and I've recently found a couple people that kind of do what I was doing before and do it real well. So if they're like, I used to do this, I'll just point them to them, because they're doing really good stuff. I've seen people doing really good stuff in the comic space and everything. So there's that stuff still out there. Plus, again, and I always tell people, if they're bummed out, like there's 1,000 other videos on my website, on my YouTube of me doing what I was doing before. I guarantee you haven't seen all of them. So, and then most of it's still relevant. So, and those videos aren't going away. They'll still remain up. I don't usually take videos down or anything like that. So,
but like you said, though, you've already there's an entire library of that how-to comics that you've already created, and you have like the downloads, and even though people that are interested, you have all the fonts and brushes and word balloons, you have all this stuff already available as well. So
and you know, the whole idea of this direction I'm going is multi-tiered. So I've created digital products in the past for comic books. Well, you know, I'll be doing that too in the future. So there'll be templates and things that, you know, that people can either download to create whatever it is, you know. So I've got, you know, if I decide I want to design a VHS cover or something like that, or whatever, there'll be a template for that. All kinds of things like that. So there'll be things available either on my newsletter or Patreon, or, you know, I've got plans for big packs that people can download with. So maybe they can create their own, they can take little pieces and make their own comic book ad in the back, and, you know, for fun or whatever. So they'll still, all the stuff that I've done before. I mean, I can see how to make it work with what kind of the direction I'm going.
And so so as you mentioned, like, do you write out an entire script and all of this? And as you said earlier, is that how you're doing it too?
Yeah. This is a script for one video I'm doing that I'm editing now. It's all on anaglyphic 3D art. So, you know, with the red and blue glasses. So basically showing people how to do all that stuff. So, and it's got a little fun stuff. I go to homages to like all the 80s, those really corny 80s 3D where it would just, you know, something would come out on the screen. It would just stay there for like a minute just so you get the effect. It's like, so, I mean, it's just, and then what's crazy is like you watch those movies, and when they went on VHS, they didn't have the 3D effects because it's two projectors in the theater, but they can't do that on VHS. So they still have those same effects that just stay there for like a minute, but that's not 3D. And it's just like watching them, the un-3D, the 2D version is just kind of funny. But so I kind of make jokes about that and everything. And I'm hoping it's entertaining for everyone. So.
Right. And do you have, because you seem to, as you said, it's a pivot, but you're also still having this educational aspect to it. You just can't pull away from that. Like, you're still
it's like everything,
be able to do that.
Yeah, it's almost, I feel like everything that I love doing, everything that I've done in the past is applicable to what I'm doing now, you know. And having done YouTube for so long, even though, you know, I wasn't necessarily, at the time, I wasn't necessarily trying to make a business out of it or anything. You know, I would kind of hope that, this channel, maybe it'll blow up and stuff. But, but I've still been around and seen YouTube and kind of learned a lot. So I picked up a lot. So I think I'm in a pretty good position to hopefully make this thing successful. So at least that's what I'm, you know, and it may take a while. It may take a while for it to get off the ground, but I just think, I don't know. I'm confident that I can make it work. So.
Right. Well, keep in mind, Scott, you have 23,000 subscribers. Like, you're not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know, the thing is, it's like the view to subscriber ratio isn't quite, you know, there's people with way less subscribers that get way more views. So even though, you know, even though there's a lot, and mostly the reason why I have so many subscribers is because I've been doing it for so long. So people will subscribe. Most of those people maybe subscribed years ago and haven't went back to check it out. So it's a little misleading as far as the number of subscribers. Because on average, I would get maybe, you know, about 300 views on average, and then I'd have some videos that would maybe I've had videos that have 100,000 views. So some of them a lot more, but on average, most videos got about 300 views. So, but I'd like to get that, you know, up over 1,000 and then just kind of keep growing, because views are a little more important than subscribers, as far as the way YouTube looks at it and everything, and minutes watched. That's what YouTube looks at, is how are they people continuing to watch this. And that's why, you know, keep getting people engaged with better cuts, better stories, like, oh, what's going to happen next? You know, that type of thing. So that's kind of, but I will tell you, the humbling thing was, because when I put up my last video, and like, the other thing is engagement. I want to get a lot of engagement. I want people in the comments to like, oh, this is cool, you know, that. And, you know, I get a little bit of that in comments, but most people I think they just would watch, and then they'd learn and they'd appreciate it. But I didn't hear about it so much. But when I posted that last video, I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds of comments, just people saying how much my channel's helped and that they've been watching me for so long. And it was really sweet and humbling. And I know, and sometimes I have to really, sometimes you don't think about this because you're doing this and like, oh man, my channel's not really growing. It's kind of very slowly kind of growing. Cause like, if you look at the analytics, it'll say growth or whatever, say about the same as usual, everything. So it just kind of pushed along. But I know that all the stuff that I've done has had an impact, and I know it's going to affect people, that it's going to help them become professionals and creators and put cool stuff in the world. So I get to remind myself of that. So it was really nice seeing all those comments and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're looking at some of your like 250,000 views on some of the ones that you've put out. Yeah. So
some of my strategy, like the first video that I'm going to put, that video that got 200 and something thousand is a sticker video. So the first video that I'm going to put out is a sticker video, and then I will link from that video to the new video. But it's got a spin to it. So it's got, I'll just kind of let the cat out of the bag. So if you're a fan of like old, like really gross stickers, like Garbage Pail Kids and Wacky Packages, I'm doing my own version of that. So it's stickers, but it's a throwback to like 70s and 80s and 90s and stuff. So that, and then I've done like wax packs before. But I've got a new technique that it's even way better as far as get them to look like the classic wax packs and things. So a lot, and that's what I'm saying. Like I've done videos like this before in the past. Recently I was doing mostly about comics, but it's nothing new. If you've been watching me for a while, you've seen stuff like this before, and this is always kind of this kind of stuff that I wanted to do. But at the time, those videos take a little while. They take more time to do and everything. But now I'm at a point where I'm just going to go all in, and like if it takes me a week to make a video, it takes me a week. But. So.
I don't see it as as you say, it's not really a pivot. It's more of an evolution of your channel.
Yeah. I like that better. Yeah. I think I'll have to use that. Yeah.
Do you have something already listed out as like, all right, you're going to try to keep doing maybe, do you have like, almost as you mentioned, people like stories. Do you actually have a meta plot that you're going to try to encompass in this, or is it going to be?
Not really. YouTube doesn't really, that doesn't play very well with YouTube as far as like episodic stuff. Because a lot of people, they'll just jump in and they'll want to see. Now, hopefully you can get people to watch, and there will be sort of a, there's kind of a narrative, I guess a narrative like, but the way that I'm going to approach it is I have to put some videos out and kind of see what people respond to. And like, one of the things I'm not sure about right now is because, like I said, I'm going to have, I imagine I'll have an audience of people that are just interested in watching some guy make all this crazy stuff who maybe don't want to actually make it themselves. Whereas in the videos, I go a little in depth on, this is like for the 3D video, I talk about, you need to use this filter in Photoshop and this and that. So there's a sort of a tutorial thing. But I've seen maker channels, like there's a Star Wars maker channel I watch called The Smuggler's Room, and they build all these cool Star Wars builds. And they talk about little things, like little hints like, use this tool for that, but they don't go into the minutia of every single step. They just kind of, if you're savvy enough, you can kind of pick it up and you can like, I know how to do stuff out of wood. I can kind of see what this guy's doing and I can figure it out. So I don't know in the future how much it will go in depth. I'll just have to see what people respond to. If people are, if people are like, I want to know all the every single step, or I just kind of want to see somebody build stuff. So I got to kind of start putting out videos and see what people respond to. And then that's where I guess the pivot comes in, and I get to figure out what are people like, what do they want to see more of? And then I kind of go from there, as long as it doesn't kind of take away from what I want to do, because I still want to do what I want to do. If I was to put a video out on, I don't know, something that I don't care about, which I wouldn't do, and it went big, the YouTube experts will say, that video hit, make more of those. But if it's not something I want to do, I don't want to keep making more of those.
Right. When did this kind of revelation happen to you? Because for those that are listening or watching, the thing is like, it would be thinking like, Scott, I kind of like, I'm at this crossroads as well. Like, how do you know when it's time to evolve your art?
That's a really good question. I think what happened was I don't know, the love of wasn't there.
Right.
Like I'm like, okay, what kind of video can I do this week? Oh, I've already kind of done that. And it just got to the point where it's like, yeah, I think I've done kind of everything as far as talking about how to make comics and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of came to the realization that it wasn't as fun, you know. There's a lot of creators that kind of just burn out and then they'll like go away. And if I was going to take a step back, I wanted to make sure that I come back and I sort of have somewhat of a plan. At the time when I recorded the video, that was kind of my last video until, eventually I come back. I kind of had an idea what I wanted to do, but it started to take shape from there. So now, and I recorded that video a number of weeks before I posted it. So that allowed me to start working, getting kind of a head start in some of this other stuff. So it'll probably be at least another month or so before I decide, that I'm ready to kind of come back. I don't know when the whole idea of what I wanted to do kind of took form. There was, again, it was a lot of stuff that I'd done before. Oh, I had fun doing that. I haven't done a video like that with the stickers in a long time, but how can I do it and do it in a way that is cohesive? So I can do a lot of different projects, but it still has the same theme as this video. This week, we're going to make a project, something from when you grew up with, something that you might remember. So it's got a theme. So it's a very specific niche, but it allows me to do more within that niche. So instead of just talking about comics all the time,
Right. Did you feel like it was okay to let that go because you had a new idea that you were able to go? Like you've been doing it for 8 years. Is there like a mourning process you're going through right now? Because
I said, the whole thing, like, am I making the right decision? You have your doubts, you have, like, is this thing going to work out? Because it's a way bigger time commitment what I'm doing now. And if it doesn't work out, then it's like, wow, that's a lot of time. But sometimes you just got to have faith in yourself and kind of your ideas and the people that I have shared, like, my friends that I do the Artcasters show with, the live show I do, all that. Everyone seems to be super excited. So, and as I let more people know, as maybe, I'll definitely point everyone to this video and kind of, hey, if you're curious what I'm up to, this is it, and kind of see what their response is before I come back. Like, but I guess, even if I get like, man, don't do this, go back to doing what you want. I don't know. I still probably go forward with it anyway, because I believe in it. So, but I don't think that's going to be the case,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's really exciting stuff, Scott. This is great.
Yeah.
And so because you did mention too before we went on the air that you have a new you have a new setup now. You don't, so what you mentioned earlier too is that what can your subscribers expect from this as you think about it from talking about nostalgia? The fall preview, I would think about the fall preview TV guide, and then you also have the returning favorites on there. Is like there's going to be a new character, there's going to be a new set, it's going to take place in LA instead of New York, like whatever that show is. What are some of the things that people can expect from your
so there will be a revamped Underground Lair 2.0. So what you saw, the set that I previously recorded doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. And my patrons, I posted a video of me taking it down, and now it's just a closet now. But I've got a bigger space, and I've built I've kind of a few upgrades as far as the Underground Lair and things, and it's really cool looking. And it's but it's not. It won't be, because it was pretty much, if you saw the Underground Lair before, you saw it because it was in a little closet. So there wasn't a lot of painting around. This is a little bigger space, so I've got different areas that I can shoot from, which I'm kind of looking at right now. The backdrop, you'll see this kind of, what you don't see here is a big giant mural. I've had this for a while, but I didn't show it off as much, but that's part of it. So, there'll be different scenes, and then some of the projects, I mean, there may, it may not, a lot of it will be like more kind of like stuff that I do on the computer. The projects will be computer based or on the iPad, or physical projects on my desk here, like me cutting things out or whatever. Some of them might even involve like making like food and stuff. So there might be a kitchen at some point. I've got ideas like that, or if it's more something that I have to do in my garage. I don't really have a set in my garage, but that's an area I'd like to go into, like build it, like if it's a bigger type project that needs like power tools or something, that's a possibility too. I don't know. I don't have anything necessarily in mind for anything like that, but I'd like to grow this. And there's certain things that I've got a whole list of things that I want to approach. I mean, there's things like this one I don't know if I'll do because it's kind of simple, and I used to do this as a kid, but there's things like this that require like being outdoors, like a slip and slide or something like that. There's things like Whammo had a lot of cool things that I'd like to recreate. So right. Some of them may require me being outside. So when I'm in the lab, you'll probably see the green lab coat. When I'm not, maybe I'll just be kind of dressed like I'm now with just a regular t-shirt or whatever. So it's going to have a little bit of all of that stuff. And maybe even there'll be instead of a lab, if I'm doing something in the kitchen, maybe there'll be a green apron. I don't know. I mean, there isn't one right now, but that's a possibility. So I want to be able to do more, but still, again, kind of still stay. So people understand what it is. People understand right. This guy's recreating stuff, like that we loved as a kid, but he's right. maybe adding his own characters to it instead of just using the characters that exist. Or like anything that I do, if it's a product that had like a mascot, I'm not going to use the same mascot. I'll create my own. So it'll be something in the spirit of that, but it'll be my own ideas, so that gives me a chance to be creative and put my own kind of footprint on everything.
And so a lot of this will be almost like there's like that science level of it. Are these things that like kids can make and their home, or there's going to be found object things as well, or how? Some
of it, yeah. I've got a kind of a set of rules that I go into, and one of the rules is use common everyday materials. But I try to make it something that most people can do if they want. And again, I get to see where it goes. If it starts blowing up and people want bigger, better, crazier things, then maybe that's what it requires. I mean, there's things like I was talking about the like stuff I would do in the kitchen. There's like I was looking like I wanted to make pop rocks, and I looked in at what was involved in actually making pop rocks, and it's a very scientific thing, and it's kind of dangerous. So that's something that I'm not too comfortable doing. But if it gets big enough, I can find somebody. Maybe I don't know if I'll ever get big enough to do a partnership with like a Mark Rober or something like that. Right. But somebody kind of who knows how to do that, maybe enlist them to collaborate or help or whatever. I mean, I've got ideas like that. Those are kind of off there because that's not something like I'm at that level yet. But who knows? I want to grow this thing, so it could happen. I don't know.
and so Scott, if as you mentioned before, your website is going to go through a revamp, but right now, if people want to follow this journey, where's the best place they could go to?
Well, probably for this journey, it's probably on YouTube. And like I said, I'm kind of taking a break, but there's still like tons of videos up there if you want to go back and watch some of those videos and see, what I've done in the past, knowing that when I come back, it'll be what we've been talking about. So YouTube's the main thing. And like I said, all those old videos would be up there. And if you are a fan since this podcast is all about comics and storytelling, I have a series called Making Comics 101 that's on there, and it's the most comprehensive free course on making comics that you're going to find on YouTube or probably anywhere. So, and that's still, that will remain up on the channel and everything. And it starts off with coming up with your ideas, penciling, ink, every single step of making comics. I mean, it's a huge playlist of videos. So that stuff's still up there. So there's that. So YouTube's the main place, but then on my website at serkworks.com, I've got like digital tools and things that you can use to make comics. I also have, I sell prints and then I sell my own comics there. So I've got my own comic. It's a kids versus zombie adventure story. It's like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. So if you love like Goonies or Monster Squad, again, stuff from the 80s, I've always been big in nostalgia, and kind of what I'm doing now will kind of carry on that tradition. But even the comics I do are usually take place in the 80s and have a lot of nostalgia to them. So
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when you were on last time, we talked a little bit about The Young and the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working on the final issue right now, so it'll probably be a little while because I usually only like have about an hour a day to work on it. So, but it's going faster than the other issues have. So this issue will probably take me less time just because I'm, or maybe not less time, but I'm working on it more frequently. I made it a point that 1 hour a day every day I work on this thing. So, and it's coming along.
Right.
So, and it'll conclude everything, and it's kind of a bigger issue than the other ones. So yeah, I'm excited about that too as well. But it's still a ways off before that thing's complete.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, this is great. So it's so nice to check in again with you.
Yeah, this is fun. I mean, it's kind of like I've been wanting to tell people about this stuff, and I wasn't sure if I was going to let the cat out of the bag, but it felt like a good time to do that, and you're a good person to do that with. So I'm glad I had the opportunity, and I'll definitely point people over here because I think it's better when people ask you the questions rather than just, oh, this is what I'm going to do, because things come up that like, oh, I didn't know about that. Handle that, and so this is a perfect vehicle for that. So I'm glad I got it. Everything worked out. So yeah, because originally I was booked, and I ended up having a conference that I had to go to, so we had to change the date. But if we would have done it earlier, I definitely would have been at this point. So kind of everything seems like it works out.
Perfect. See, there you go. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Scott, for coming on. So, because I did notice that those are actually Playmobil toys,
they're Playmobil,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to see some kind of like Lego versus Playmobil, like some sort of epic battle or something like that.
I never had them as a kid. My mom always told me they were way too expensive, but I don't think I mean, these ones might be because they're a little more collectible, but I think they're about the same price range as Legos, and I had Legos, so I don't know, but I never had them as a kid, but then they started going and doing all the movie ones, and I'm like, and I saw a review of the Starship Enterprise, and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. And so then I started that one. I had to wait for, because that was a pretty big purchase, but that one I got for Christmas. So, but
the difference with like the Playmobil is, unlike Legos, you're kind of solid on like the characters. You can't really like change out other than popping their hair off or whatever.
Yeah, they're not really, you don't build them as much. I mean, it's assembly required, but I think the reason why I like these is just because they look like, Legos look like bricks, which I love Lego, and I played with Lego as a kid, but they look like brick. These actually look like, miniature versions of the actual, cars and stuff. So